Hello, Scientology crime watchers, and welcome to the Scientology Money Project on YouTube. We're part of the extended network of SPTV. And one interesting thing I want to say is that David Miscavige spent $100 million launching Scientology TV, as I noted in a previous podcast, and it doesn't get any views. Nobody watches it because it's lame and stupid and boring. But I also notice about Scientology TV, memo to David Miscavige, Tom Cruise has never been on Scientology TV. That's what's called an out point in Scientology. Tom Cruise is smart enough to know not to go on that show, on that network. Why? Why, Tom Cruise? Why won't you go on Scientology TV? That would really boom the ratings, boom the statistics. But Tom's too smart, after what happened in 2005, to go on Scientology TV. So he stays away and sticks to Mission Impossible, things he knows that will sell, people are interested in, because no one is interested in Scientology TV. And am I making fun of Scientology TV? Yes, I am. Now, is having a sense of humor illegal in Scientology? Oh, you better believe it. So what I wanted to do in this podcast was talk to you about a sense of humor and why L. Ron Hubbard outlawed joking and degrading. So that's right. L. Ron Hubbard called humor joking and degrading. And in fact, there's a policy letter. We're going to go to it. On my blog, I put up and I'll put the link in the show notes. Church of Scientology policy outlining joking and degrading. This was back in 2015, of course, when Saturday Night Live, they did their famous neurotology sketch, which was absolutely hysterical. And it's one of the great pieces ever. And you got the founder. So this was making fun of the video David Miscavige did. And there's, of course, the L. Ron Hubbard character who died at pink eye. So my point is that Scientology doesn't have a sense of humor. And the first thing they do when you get into Scientology is they do what I call a humorectomy. They rip the sense of humor right out of you. And they do this because well, there's a couple reasons, actually. One reason that L. Ron Hubbard, and you can read the text, he says, this is how serious Hubbard was. The whole agonized future of this planet, every man, woman, and child on it, and your own destiny for the next endless trillions of years depend on what you do here and now with and in Scientology. This is a deadly serious activity. And if we miss getting out of the trap now, we may never again have another chance. Remember, this is our first chance to do so in all the endless trillion years of the past. Oh my God, that is so heavy and laden with significance. And so L. Ron Hubbard said that Scientology is a deadly serious activity. So if you're doing something so deadly serious, there can't be any humor. You can get in big trouble. So moving on, in one of the Scientology sect checks, you're going to be asked, have you ever made fun of or joked about LRH, tech, or policy? And parenthetically says, quote, once the overt act of joking or degrading has been handled to EP or in phenomena with steps A to G of false purpose rundown procedure, get the prior overt, the pre-clear committed, and handle with steps A to G. Then check for and handle any other such overt. When these have been handled, recheck the original questions, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what that means in sect checks is like, have you ever made fun of L. Ron Hubbard or David Miscavige or Tom Cruise? And they're going to do this interrogation, and then you have to confess that you made fun of them. And oh my God, there's going to be such amends. They're going to get lower conditions. It's a major crime to make fun of David Miscavige or LH or the tech because they're stupid sometimes. And that's the thing. Sometimes, Scientology, as I say, is always worse than you think. It's sadistic, it's deranged, but sometimes they do stuff that's so frigging idiotically funny that something must be done about it. So, and I did do something about it, and I'll show you that in a minute. Now I'm going to go back to another policy that I want to show you. So let me get that here. Okay, now this policy, and I'll post it in the blog. It's a Hubbard Communications Office policy letter, the old HCOPL, and this is entitled Jokers and Degraders. And it reads, quote, "It is an old principle," L. Ron Hubbard writes, "it is an old principle that people who do not understand something occasionally make fun of it. And a recent investigation, however, into the backgrounds and case condition of a small handful of people who were joking about their posts and those around them showed a somewhat more sinister scene. Ooh. Each of these persons fell into one or more of the following categories: were rock slammers, some even list one, were institutional type cases, were NCG, meaning no case gain, the only cause of which is continuous present time overts, were severely PTS connected to rock slammers. Now, what's really funny about this thing is L. Ron Hubbard is saying that if you're joking and degrading, then you're a list one rock slammer. And in Scientology language, I'll translate. When you're getting audited on the meter and the needle goes like that, that's a rock slam. And that means you're really evil and have hidden intentions because you're making the e-meter go crazy and jerk all around. So that's a bad thing to be a list one rock slammer. You were, if you're making fun of people, L. Ron Hubbard said, you're an institutional type case, which means you're a psychiatric case. You belong locked up in what L. Ron Hubbard derogatorily called the spin bin. So also, if you're joking and degrading in Scientology, you're a no case gain. That is a bad thing to be. That means you're not getting any positive benefits. No case gain. Which parenthetically, Aaron Smith Levin had on Tommy Scoville on a recent blog talking about Danny Masterson and what he could expect in prison. And I really enjoyed Tommy Scoville. Shout out to you, Tommy. And what Tommy said to Aaron is that pedophiles or chomos in the California state prison system, along with sex offenders or SOs, which is what Danny Masterson is, they are NCs, which means nothing coming. You got nothing coming. So L. Ron Hubbard had no case gains. And for Danny Masterson, L. Ron Hubbard or David Miscavige could create a new category called an NCC, a nothing coming case, because he's got nothing coming to him. But that's just a parenthetical observation of mine. And it's not funny. But sometimes, you have to laugh at things that are not funny because, well, you can, I don't want to go too far off that, but a no case gain is a really bad thing in Scientology. So because you're expected to keep going up the bridge and making case gain. So Hubbard said, well, if you're making fun of things, you're not going to get any case gain, which means you have to be deadly serious to make case gain. The tautology is staggering. You have to keep paying to go up the bridge to keep having case gain, because if you don't have case gain, you're bad, which means you're not paying money to go up the bridge. And you can see how this devolves into pure tautological idiocy, which is why it must be made fun of. And then this bulletin goes through about what to do and how humor is really, really, really bad. And he says, Dr. Hubbard says, properly assigned and then fully done conditions are the correct ethics handling for having any sense of humor. We're going to just put you in sec checks and ethics conditions, and you're going to pay hell if you laugh. One thing, me growing up in the Pentecostal church, preachers used to say, Satan doesn't have a sense of humor. Satan doesn't like to be made fun of. Devil doesn't like to be made fun of. And L. Ron Hubbard didn't either, because he is a devil. So here's another thing. Ron Hubbard says, humor is one thing. Destroyed orgs and human beings are quite something else. Ooh, wow. So you're going to have destroyed orgs and human beings if there's any joking around. He says, "It is our business to get the show on the road and get the job done." Orrin Hubbard, founder. And then this is another check. "The next time you, as an executive, wonder why you are working so hard, look for the joker in the deck." So what Hubbard wants to do is find out all the people with a sense of humor and rip that humor right out of them. He has a saying that when Miss Patty Cake comes into our org, to get handled, you're going to turn her into a tiger. So he has Miss Patty Cake. If you're not serious, you're a Miss Patty Cake. And he also calls people who are not serious dilettantes or panty-waisted dilettantes. You panty-waisted dilettante. So Hubbard had a lot of ways to handle people who are not deadly serious in this activity of Scientology. So we have to do something about it. So what Scientology's motto is, something can be done about it. So what I did about it, and I did this a long time ago. I started by way of introducing myself to those who may not know me. I started a blog, a humor blog, satire called OT8IsGrrr8. And the reason I did it is OT8 is the highest level you can go in Scientology. And it must be great if it's the highest level. So it's great, like the old Tony the Tiger and Frosted Flakes commercial. OT8 is great. And my recurring character is Ken Delusion. He's variously the chief spokesman for the Church of Scientology, or he's an executive. He's whatever I want him to be, but he's a recurring character. He's sort of a neurotic and paranoid Stalinist bureaucrat, which is like a lot of long-term SEERG members are neurotic, paranoid, sadistic Stalinist bureaucrats. And by way of having some fun with Scientology, I created OT8IsGrrr8 in 2013. And I'll do things like this. The pretext of it is that I'm Scientology and I'm making pronouncements to the world that you're supposed to obey. Because that's what Scientology does. They make these ridiculous pronouncements about psychiatry and the state of the world and everything else. For example, this is one instant. Scientology, not as bad as Russia. And what I was reading is, how Putin's allies are suddenly falling down several flights of stairs, falling off buildings, having heart attacks. It's like, so the point, if I were a Scientology bureaucrat, I would say, well, we're not as bad as Russia. People don't fall off the top of the flag, but there's been some. So that would be one PR line I would have. Now, something I did many years ago that got a lot of people. A long time ago, when Scientology, when OT8IsGrrr8 started, a lot of people didn't know it was satire. I was using Poe's law and really pushing it. I, for example, issued a pronouncement outlawing the use of the internet, and some people actually believed it, and it got posted on Why We Protest, and so it was just kind of fun to do. But here's a piece that I got a lot of email on, like saying that's outrageous, that they were really. So this pushed Poe's law. I'm going to find this for you, and that's part of the fun of satire, is pushing Poe's law to see how far you can push it. So this particular article, which I thought was really funny. Scientology purchasing North Korean children for use as low-cost Sea Org labor. And this thing got a lot of responses and reads, because I, tweeted it and things. And the fun thing about it, this is something Scientology would actually do, is they would actually purchase North Korean children for use in Sea Org. So that's how satire should just rip right. It should be cut to the bone. It should cut right to the bone. Good, well done satire should be ferocious. And I write on the internet for a long time, and I write as J Swift. That's my pen name. And as I said before, it's in honor of the Irish satirist Jonathan Swift, who's one of my literary heroes. And I'm half Irish and half English. So when I first read Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal in college, it just cracked me up. It showed the power of what could be done. So in this particular piece, this is something Scientology would actually do. Satire, when it's done well, is so effective, and that's why one thing I decided to do, to just have some fun. And these are nice throwaway pieces. Some are better than others, but you have to remember, if you've been in Scientology, you need to regain your sense of humor, and that's so important. This is another piece I did recently. Scientology creates new AI-generated ecclesiastical leader to allow David Miscavige to remain in hiding. So I did this as a thought experiment, because David Miscavige, he's like, what, 5'1" in his bare feet, and he's got hair plugs, and he's getting long in the tooth. I mean, there's nothing wrong with aging, but he's got this ecclesiastical pompadour, and he wears a bow tie, a tuxedo, like. So I thought, if I were a neurotic Sea Org bureaucrat and I had power, I would just create an AI generated leader like this big, handsome Neanderthal guy with all the Sea Org medals, to replace David Miscavige, because this guy would make a lot more sense with having a deep, resonant voice and projected confidence, and he wasn't hiding from service a subpoena. What a dickless wonder that guy is. So anyway, check out my blog. OT It Is Great. And you should know all about the policy that if you are joking and degrading, especially if you're making fun about Scientology, you are truly a suppressive person. You're just horrible. How dare you attack my religion, Scientologists say. That's one of their great lines. How dare you attack my religion? And it's like, well, dude, your religion does some really up things, and it deserves to be criticized. If you don't like it, you need to look at it. And that's why one video I'm going to do down the road is why you should be an anti-Scientologist. Scientology speaks of anti-Scientologists if there's something wrong with opposing fair game disconnection, stalking, harassment, threats, intimidation, destroying families, and everything else. So the lesson here, and as I said at the beginning, is if you don't laugh, you'll cry. You have to keep some sense of humor about these things, because otherwise Scientology can really be devastating. And I think part of what's good about SPTV is we have fun. We can laugh at ourselves. We can laugh at Scientology, and we can also be very serious. So that's the kind of range you need psychologically. Sometimes you have to remember that parts of Scientology are, especially when they're trying to be serious, are so unintentionally funny, they deserve to be lampooned. So what's that? You say you want one more joke? Okay, let's go back to, if you see on the side, to the left-hand side, I have my archives of joking and degrading that go way back. So I'm just going to pull one at random from February 2014 to see what was going on there. Oh, look at that. I'm prophetic. One of the big lies in Scientology is that OT8, I'm sorry, OT9 and OT10 will be released soon. Did you know that Scientology was selling prepaid packages for OT9 and 10 back in the 80s and 90s? And this is like really, really funny, because David Miscavige has been promising to release OT9 and 10 for frigging ever. Look at that picture. This is like some game show, written by someone on LSD. This is really a freak show. I don't think Scientology gets it. David Miscavige doesn't. He likes these really grandiose stage sets. Like, that is just like, yeah, that's just like a game show / LSD / are you frigging kidding me? That's like, it's like, there's so many things wrong with this. Is Earth, we are the IAS. And then you got this guy in an ecclesiastical pompadour with these ultra waxed floors. You wonder why they call it a cult. Well, if you have these like Nuremberg stage sets, these grandiose, narcissistic, goofball stage sets, yeah, you're going to be thought of as kind of a cult. Periodically, they'll say
It looks
that
like it's filmed inside a flying
OT9 and
saucer.
OT10 will be released soon because Scientology's bridge ends at OT8. And when L. Ron Hubbard died in 1986, he finished the bridge at OT8. The bridge, though, technically goes up to OT15. However, OT9 and 10, we wait and wait and wait. So sometimes I'll go through and make fun of the things that Scientology doesn't do. And I have some other stuff I'm going to list, but this was just one of them. And periodically, David Miscavige will, when he gets desperate or frantic, he'll say that OT9 and 10 are being released soon. And former CR executive, RTC Inspector General Ethics, the guy who makes videos with that brown sports coat. I'm not going to mention his name. When Pat Broker left the Church of Scientology and David Miscavige chased him out, they spent all that time looking. They thought Pat Broker was hiding OT9 and 10, and they raided his ranch and other places, and they didn't find it because they don't exist. OT9 and 10 don't exist. OT 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 don't exist. So to Scientologists, you got half a bridge. All you get is OT8, and that's where it ends. And that's where they'll never release 9 and 10. They don't have it. They would have to invent it, and it wouldn't be Hubbard. So that's kind of funny that that would be like if you were a Christian and you got the Bible, except it stopped at the Gospel of John, and they promised to release the Pauline epistles in the book of Revelation, 1st, 2nd, 3rd John. The other books, sometime down in the future, when there's a whole bunch of conditions, and Miscavige likes to do this. He said, like, I'll release OT9 and 10 when there's 10,000 people on solo knots. That means 10,000 people solo auditing their BTs. So there's all these conditions, all these arbitraries. When all orgs hit St. Hillsides, we'll release it. When all the suppression is shattered, whatever, Miscavige can just make up this carrot and stick thing that sometime OT9 and 10 will release. Meantime, all these Scientologists, the older LRH era people, are dying off. Kirstie Alley passed away, never getting to see the promised land of OT9 and 10. But the fact is, nobody ever will. And I'll bet you, if I did this video 10 years from now, when I'm a lot older, because I'm old, OT9 and 10 still won't be released. And even if David Miscavige was to be 93, they still won't be released for whatever reason. So to me, that is so funny that people will stay in Scientology hoping that OT9 and 10 are released someday, and their cases can finally be cracked, and they'll finally get the answers, and yet they keep proceeding in the distance like a mirage. They're just going to keep going in the desert until they're broke and old and dead, and they drop the body, and they go, I guess, to Target 2 with Ron, unless they get picked up at an implanting station on Mars. So remember, Scientology is a deadly serious activity for Scientologists, but we can have fun with it. Thanks for watching.